Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a new StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm beta video. Today we are going to be talking about the Swarm host. Now recently I made a little bit of a video about the Viper, and since I've been using quite a bunch of Swarm hosts myself as well in StarCraft II, I figured I should probably make a video about those as well, because they definitely deserve some love. Now, they aren't really like the Viper is. Like the Viper is kind of a unit that can turn the entire game around within basically 1 or 2 seconds. The Swarm host is a completely different unit. For the people that actually don't know what the Swarm host is, it's basically a little guy that's pretty damn expensive, and you throw it down and it actually burrows on the ground and it spawns little, you kinda could call them Hydralisk, I guess, except for the fact that they don't shoot up. But he spawns little locusts, that's what they are called, and it spawns those constantly. They have really low HP, they have like no armor if I'm not mistaken, but they do a shit ton of DPS. So you can imagine, if you have like 20 of those Swarm hosts, you can actually spawn a shit ton of locusts every single time, and there will be a huge attack coming every minute for basically completely free, because the only investment that you have to make is the initial cost of the Swarm host. Now, since it is a unit that is better the more you get of them, it's kind of a tough unit to use because, well, simply put, you can't really defend any kind of pressure with it unless you have about 10 of them. So right now I've been messing around with them quite a bunch in the Heart of the Swarm beta, playing versus all kind of Grandmaster level Terrans, Protoss and Zergs, and I figured that it's probably the best unit in Zerg versus Protoss. I've been watching a lot of pro gamers live streams as well, and everyone that is using Swarm host seems to be using them in Zerg versus Protoss especially. Now, the reason for this is because they are a lot harder to use, especially in Zerg versus Zerg. Like, Zerg versus Zerg is pretty much muta based only right now, and you know, Swarm hosts don't shoot up, so it's really hard to use them versus Mutalisk. But especially in Zerg versus Protoss, they are incredibly effective. Let's go straight into the game. So here we are in the game. This is actually a Zerg versus Protoss that I played last night versus a Grandmaster levels Protoss player. And this Protoss player, as you can see, opened up Phoenixes. Now, the reason why I already have so many units out is because I figured I should not be going for any kind of Swarm host play unless I already have a pretty good lead in the mid game. Now, that might sound a little bit weird, but this time around, I can't, like, in Zerg versus Protoss, you can't really defend early game pressure with just Swarm host. You really need an army to deal with any kind of initial pushes by the Protoss. So right now, the game has stabilized. We are switching into the mid kind of play, and yeah, the game is really preparing to get a little bit longer. Obviously, there are some really strong 2-base timings, like this Protoss was going for as well, but I defended that part perfectly with just Roaches and Hydralisk. So right now, I'm switching into Swarm hosts. Swarm hosts are a pretty damn good unit, but like I already mentioned, you need to have a lot of them. So instantly, before I even start producing real Swarm hosts, I'm already getting the Evolve Locust upgrade, which basically adds 10 seconds of extra life to the Swarm host. So right now, I'm basically just trying to check out what the Protoss player is up to, and obviously, if I can get a console on his army, or on his third base, I will be completely happy. But right now, I realize, nope, this is the army that he is going for. He's most likely gonna get a lot of air really quickly, so Swarm host will be the ideal unit. Now this is a little tiny bit later in the game. I'm still just standing and making sure that I have the middle part of the map. I also, well, he actually is flying all his Phoenixes over my Hydralisk right now. But at this point, I'm going to start launching a few of those little locusts across the map. This is the point where I start doing that, because when you only have like 2 or 3, you don't really want to refill them. But since he scouted them either way with the Phoenixes, I'm going to just send waves and waves of those little locusts out. At this point, they become stronger and stronger and stronger, because the Protoss has a hard time building up with all those units that are constantly spawning at him. As you can see, I'm burrowing my Swarm host to spawn those locusts, and then unburrowing them and inching them a little bit forward. I'm going to be slowly pushing with the Swarm host, which is something that Zerg simply could never do unless, you know, they simply could never do that in Wings of Liberty unless they had like a lot of maybe like Brood Lords or whatever. But right now, as you can see, they become more and more effective. I get a few Zealot kills every single time I'm there, and that is a pretty huge deal, especially because I'm inching forward all my units all the time. I also have my 4th base going up right now, and at this point it becomes so incredibly effective to use Swarm host. It's kind of insane. If he does not have a way to deal with the ground army, he basically has to switch 100% into air, and that's exactly what he is doing. However, I have all my locusts still spawning constantly, and as long as I'm just standing on top of my Swarm host, he really can't be pushing into my army. So at this point, I could honestly be inching a little bit forward once again. Now once again, a little tiny bit later in the game, I'm actually taking out the rocks at the back of his third base and putting my swarm host right behind them. He is meanwhile attacking with all of those Tempests, but here you can really see the strength of those little locusts. You can see they are coming in right now, but I did not realize how much damage they actually do. Right now I decide to go for the workers just a little tiny bit, but then I decide why not just target fire down the Nexus. As you can see, it's dropping in health so damn fast. As you can see, those locusts basically clean out the Nexus within a matter of seconds. Once again, a little bit later in this game, I'm taking more bases all over the map, but I keep sieging up to his third base. As long as I deny any kind of those bases from the Protoss player, I will be able to eventually win the game. And as you can see, those locusts are doing so much damage, as well as tanking for all my Hydralisks. And as you can see, slowly but surely, I'm whittling down the Protoss player, and I think this is one of the coolest units that Zerg ever needed. Right now, I'm going to be doing so much damage once again to his probe line right now. There's no way he's going to be retreating at this point, because the locusts will just eat him up. And right now I just keep making sure that I keep spawning all of those little locusts. Now as you can see, the swarm host is a completely different unit than the Viper is, but it's incredibly strong when used in the correct situations. I personally have been using it mostly in Zerg vs Protoss because it's incredibly strong after holding any kind of mid-game, early kind of game push, and once you start switching into swarm host, it becomes incredibly hard for the Protoss to actually deal with them. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Please leave your thoughts of the swarm host in the description of this video. As always, have an awesome day, don't forget to smile, and hopefully I will see you again, guys. Bye!